Reverend Stephanie Tunison, our new Chief Executive Officer, comes to the organization after providing years of leadership in Cincinnati, helping juvenile offenders turn around their lives by making positive choices for themselves, resulting in a brighter and more productive future. She has a wealth of experience and expertise that will identify new opportunities for Wesley, building on the solid foundation of our past achievements. Stephanie possesses the unique capacity combining a solid faith and an expertise in the human condition. All this bodes well for Wesley's future. Please help me welcome Stephanie.
Thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you, Steve. It is my privilege to be here today because today our theme, I hope you've noticed the t-shirts that staff are wearing, and our speakers today will also receive them, and our board of directors. But the theme is Celebrate Wesley, because that's what we're about today, is celebrating Wesley. And in our culture, we celebrate when something very good has happened, and something very good has happened and has culminated into this moment today. But I want to give you a snapshot of what that's all about. And so I want to do that through the story of one woman named Eleanor. You see, Eleanor was in her early 70s. She had lived a very good life. She had worked many, many years and raised 3 children. She had a husband whom she shared that life with, who passed away the year before. And subsequently, her children had moved away. They'd grown up, found their own jobs, and moved on. So she was home and it was her hometown. She was alone. But she was a strong woman with a lot of faith and a lot of determination. And she didn't mind being alone. She enjoyed cooking and cleaning and having friends over and being a part of the community. There was one problem, though, that started to affect her, and that was that she started to find that she would stumble every once in a while, and she would catch herself when she was falling. It started getting worse, and her feet started to tingle. And she couldn't understand what was going on. In fact, she found that when she was driving a car, she now wasn't quite sure which was the accelerator and which was the brake. So she decided she better go see her doctor, who did a test and explored what was happening and said, "Eleanor, you have neuropathy," which means that over time she is not going to be able to feel her feet. Well, Eleanor took this news in stride. She got on some medication and decided that she needed to go to the grocery store. So she got in her car, and as she was approaching the intersection, she was very surprised that instead of coming to a full stop at the stop sign, she leveled the stop sign because she thought that the accelerator had gotten stuck. Well, in fact, she hadn't moved her foot over far enough to hit the brake. When her children found out, they were very upset and very concerned for their mom. Well, they said, "Mom, take the taxi and get somebody else in the community to give you a ride." She did a little bit, but a couple weeks later she decided she could go out again. This time she approached a different intersection, and as she was going towards it, she thought she was going to stop, but lo and behold, the car didn't stop until it hit a U.S. mailbox. The airbag went off, she got some bruises on her face because of her glasses. She had a bruise across her chest because of the strength of the seatbelt. And the officer who came said, "Ma'am, you just had an accident a couple of weeks ago. You really better be careful before you hurt yourself or others, or possibly kill someone." She was shaken. The car had to be repaired. She waited. Her children were very upset. They weren't in town. They didn't know what to do. But over time, she decided, it was a couple months later, that she was going to go out and try once again. This time, she needed to get to the bank. So she decided she would go on a time of day when there weren't too many people on the road. She navigated her way to the parking lot. She pulled in. She found a parking space very close to the entrance, so she wasn't worried about falling. And as she again went to stop the vehicle, what she did is she ran right into the side of the bank and the red brick veneer of the bank. Mortified by what happened, she threw the car into reverse, went backwards, and now, and this is no lie, she ran into a Jeep that was newly purchased by one of the bank tellers. Now, the police were not called this time because it was on private property, but they let her know that, well, the police weren't involved, but the insurance company got involved and they let her know that she had too many claims and they were dropping her as a client. Now she had no transportation. Well, she got home that night very, very rattled. She was having a friend come over for dinner. She got up on the step stool to grab some vegetables off of the top shelf, and you know what happened? She fell. She was on the floor for a while until her neighbor came over. Her neighbor had a key to get in. When her neighbor found her, she rushed her to the hospital. They got her to the hospital and they found out that she had a compound fracture. They kept her overnight. Well, the next day, of course, they wanted to release her. Well, she couldn't go home. So they found a nursing home for her to go to. Then they chose this nursing home in particular because they had a very strong rehabilitation program, and she went to Lincoln Crawford. And there she got the physical therapy that she needed. They taught her how to use her walker and eventually how to use her cane so that she would be able to go home. And they let her know before she went home that she had the possibility of calling Wesley Community Services that her meals could be delivered since no one was there to care for her. And not only that, Wesley Community Services could provide the medical transportation that she needed to make all of her doctor's appointments and continued physical therapy appointments. She was very pleased. So when she got home, that very first day, 11:30, there was the doorbell rang, and in walked one of our Meals on Wheels drivers, and he had her frozen meal for her, offered to heat it up in her microwave, which she was grateful for. And on the way out, he even helped take the trash out to the dumpster for her. She was so pleased, and she said the nicest young man, only 50, was coming every day at 11:30 to care for her. Well, on one of the days that he came, he found that she was fussing, and she was just a little agitated, and he couldn't understand why. And it was because every time she opened the door for him to come in, she would see all the little dust bunnies slide across the ground, across the floor. You know what I'm talking about. And she was getting really irritated because she was used to having a very clean and tidy house. Well, the Meals on Wheels driver said, well, no problem. We can take care of that for you. Make a few phone calls, and Wesley Services has housekeeping available to you. So they made a couple of phone calls, and within a couple of days, she had a housekeeper coming twice a week who could help with the kitchen dishes, who could help with the dust bunnies, and also helped open her mail. She was thrilled. She was thrilled because in another 4 weeks, she was no longer on the cane. She was back to being a very independent woman. She went from total dependence to independence, thanks to the wonderful work of Wesley Services. So she celebrated Wesley because of that very good thing. Not only did she celebrate Wesley, but her family celebrated Wesley, because here they were in different parts of the country, unable to care for their mother. And here were total strangers coming into their mother's home and meeting the personal needs that she had. And they felt that she was given excellent care. So they were celebrating Wesley. Today we're celebrating Wesley. We're celebrating this building. But as Dan said, it's not just about the building. It's about the mission that flows out of the building. We have an amazing number of people who we want to celebrate today. And first, I want to celebrate the board of directors because they had a vision. They had a vision that said, we need a bigger place. We need a place to put all of this under one roof. We need to be fiscally responsible. And they raised the money. Through all of our fabulous donors, they had the vision of how to put the plan together. They renovated the building, and now all of us are housed in it. So we celebrate the board of directors. Today we celebrate our donors, because without them we truly wouldn't be here. And all of our supporters who've given us your time, your treasure, and your talent, for which we celebrate. But we also really want to celebrate the staff. The staff at Lincoln Crawford, the nurses' aides, the activities directors, the housekeepers, the pastors, all the social workers, all who were there to meet the needs of Eleanor. And not only Lincoln Crawford staff, but we also want to celebrate the Wesley Community Services staff, because whether it was for the housekeepers or for the medical transportation, from that very first phone call when they made that request, it was either the person who was fixing the food, who distributed the food, who set the schedule, to our dispatch people, to our drivers. All of those folks we celebrate today because they made life better for Eleanor. Now, Eleanor is just one name. Today, what we want to do, all of us together, is to celebrate all the lives of the future, all the Eleanors that are yet unnamed, all the thousands of seniors who need our help, because without us, it's not going to happen. So folks, I thank you for being here. We truly celebrate this day, and you are the biggest part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.